Good evening and welcome into the Sports Locker. Tonight's focus is tennis, preparations for the Island Games and building a steady future for the sport. Joining me in the studio is Junior Development Officer Dustin Orillo, Michael Ray Pairings, former pro here on the Rock for 1 week and 1 week only, and local player James Taylor. Guys, thanks for taking some time out.
Thank you.
James, just a couple weeks to go now until the Games. Preparations, everything in place?
Yeah, first and foremost, I just want to thank Michael Ray for coming over. It's great to see, obviously, a new body, at the end of the court. He's passing on his experience, showing us different things. Not only that, but he's come over to train a group of players, to do the coaching. He's delivering the PTR and the UPT level 1, which is the one I'm taking on Saturday. So hopefully, we can do that on Saturday, and I'll be updated. And I think it's important to update these things and to try new things with junior players. And so it's been great. And at the moment, with regards to the squad, things are going well. I think the women's squad are currently putting in all the hours and training mornings, afternoons, evenings, and I feel that
full speed ahead at this point.
With that squad, I think we stand a good chance of getting a few medals. Definitely.
We'll have a look at the different squads and where we can hope for medals. But Dustin, what does it mean for Gibraltar to have a player of Michael Ray's stature and profile here on the Rock?
Well, his experience is all right. We're a small community, and Michael works on such a large scale compared to what we're used to, and so all that knowledge and experience can be passed down to us, and we can make the most of it, developing our younger players and using his tools that he's given our new coaches to be in the best way possible.
Michael, your second time here on the Rock. Yes. In fact, you were here a few years ago.
Correct. Yes, it's quite interesting. I came a few years ago. I was playing some tournaments in January up in Scotland, and I needed to defrost a little bit. And so my player and I, we decided to go as far as down south in Europe as possible. And I've always been quite curious about how Gibraltar is and what it was like. So I reached out to the players over at Sandpits, and they received us with open arms, and we created a great bond and friendship, which we've carried on throughout the years, and we've always maintained in good contact and in touch. And so now that the squad is preparing for such an important event here in Gibraltar, first time in many years that they've had that we're going to host the Island Games here. I've been fortunate enough to come down and be able to help out with the trainings and the coach education and such. And to be honest, it's been a great experience for me, because I feel like I'm coming back to like one big family. So it's very nice.
Nice. So we'll get on to coach education a little later in the show. You grew up in the States, but you are from the Dominican Republic. Are there similarities between, not just in the dual sort of language of the Dominican and Gibraltar? Are there other similarities?
Yeah, I mean, I think the warmth of the people is the first thing you see. I felt people here in Gibraltar are very welcoming, and so it's the same sort of culture in the Dominican Republic. The weather is very nice now, so it's a beautiful time of year to be able to go out and play tennis. Obviously, Dominican Republic is a tropical climate, so we're always playing sports outside year-round. Yeah, I mean, obviously the language to me is something very curious here, that everyone speaks perfect British English and perfect Spanish. So it's
I won't go that far.
Well, but it's very interesting to me to see this sort of a mixture of cultures here in Gibraltar. And yeah, I from the first time I came down here, I kind of fell in love with not only the place but with the people. And I think yeah, there's very much similarities with.
So Dustin and James, perhaps you could talk us through the squad. We've got Amanda Carreras, who is our top player, everybody considered. She'll be here on the Rock very shortly indeed. Of course, she's got the ITF circuit to deal with. She's playing week in, week out almost. Talk us through the rest of the squad, if you will.
We have
Shane Brown, up and coming.
We've got Shane Brown, who's playing very well in the UK. He's playing pretty much every day with some great results. Problem being that he's recently, got injured. He's got a wrist problem, so we'll have to see how that pans out. But he's put in the hours, and he's a main guy for the men's squad. So we'll see. Then we have Lionel Cipollina. Obviously, it's good to have his experience. Johan Valverde as well, and myself, and Dylan Casiaro, who's also coming into the squad. So we've got a mixture of youth and sort of experience. Dylan is the youngest guy, and some of us are sort of had problems with a couple of injuries. I'm coming back from my surgery. Just a couple of months back, had surgery on my right knee. So I'm trying to, try and get stronger.
Does that lower expectations going? You mentioned your injury, Shane, as well.
With regards to injury, I'm not playing what I normally play, which is the singles. I'm playing the doubles and mixed because it's less stressful, with regards to match play and everything else. And the team event as well. We need to make sure that we put a strong team together. And if you have these injuries, then it's not the best starts. And but we'll see what happens. We'll just try our best, and that's all we can do at the moment.
Dustin, is that where our strength lies? Do you think in the team event as opposed to the singles, or what do you reckon?
I guess with Amanda coming to play for us on the girls' side, we definitely have a strong opportunity. Yeah,
with a women's squad, I think at least we're looking at maybe 4 to 5 medals, possibly.
Really?
Yeah. The team events, the doubles, the singles, and we've got. Bianca Ceromania, we've got Lindsay Sané, we've got Vinka as well, who's playing very well, who's the Polish girl. Mm-hmm. So we've got Melanie Cipollina, who's really determined and a really hard worker. So with the women's squad, I think we have at least 4 to possibly 4 to 5 medals if they keep playing hard and keep playing well. With the men's squad, it's a different story because with the injuries and people pulling out, and so it's a bit more complicated than that. We'll have to get the luck of the draw, and then we'll see. More of a chance, I think, with the doubles and the mixed as opposed to the singles, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Michael, coming to the end of your time, of your second stint here in Gibraltar, what have you made of the squad's progress since the last time you were here, and expectations going into the games too?
Yeah, I mean, so I've kind of come in when these guys are in full season form. It looks like they've been training for looks like maybe a few months now for the games. Right now we've been focusing in a lot on match play, tactics, because there's 4 to 5 weeks to go until the games begin. But I think there's not really a lack in hunger. It's more or less like what James was saying for the men's squad, seeing how the draws pan out, seeing how physically everyone's fit for the games, and then in the women's there's a good opportunity. So I mean, it is a very, in my opinion, very interesting time right now for the tennis.
You've you've represented the Dominican Republic in the Davis Cup, a team tennis event. Tell us about tennis as a team event, and how much of a lift will someone like Amanda Carreras give to the rest of the squad? Oh,
it's a whole nother ball game, the team aspect, because obviously tennis is predominantly an individual sport. So you're traveling all year, playing by yourself, as Amanda is traveling everywhere, playing these ITF events. And now she's going to come back home, and she's going to have the support not only of the home crowd, but of her teammates. So I think that is a tremendous lift for everyone on the squad. And you want to give it your 100% effort. You don't want to let anyone down. You want to leave everything out on the court. And yeah, just my experience playing in the team aspect of tennis, have it be Davis Cup, the league matches in Europe, or anything like this, I think it brings out in a lot of players the best in them.
What sort of things are considered in terms of pairing up two individuals for the doubles event? What sort of things are taken into consideration by a coach? Does sort of chemistry off the court play a big factor?
Yeah, for sure it does. I mean, So chemistry is important. Obviously, you have to feel comfortable with your partner. You're going to be out on the court in pressure situations. You know, if you can't get along with your partner off the court and you're in a pressure situation on the court, it's just going to magnify. So obviously the camaraderie and that sort of chemistry is important, but also the game styles. So if you have maybe two partners that can't really mesh game-wise, they might be two great individual players, but not the best team-wise. But maybe you have two other players that individually don't have such good results, but together as a team they do well. So that's the sort of thing you got to look at, you know, the chemistry, how they mesh, how the game styles come together. And I think just from what I've seen on the court from our current doubles teams, I mean, the pairings are very good. I'm liking it.
Then, on the other hand, James, is there also an argument to say you don't have to particularly get along with the man or woman off the court, but you might strike up a great partnership on it?
I think having a good relationship off the court is important. It's just as important. But if you can perform, you know, on the day and you don't get along with, you know, with your pairing outside of the courts, then that's fine. At the end of the day, it's about results. It's about winning. It's about you know, being there for your partner. You know, once you hit the first serve and the last point, you know, and if you can do that, then it works. You know, just trying to get that, like Michael said, that chemistry together on the court. That's the main thing. If you can do that, then you know, there's no reason why you shouldn't get good results. I
suppose one of our great strengths is the fact that we are such a close-knit, you mentioned a close-knit community, a family, players that you've been playing with for years and years, so you really do know your teammates inside out, don't you?
Yeah, I've been playing with the same number, you know, there's the same people for a number of years, so you know the gameplay inside out. Just making sure that on the day, you know, on the tournament, that you perform. You know, it's completely different, practicing, training, and you know, doing this and the other, as opposed to actually, you know, going to the first round, playing tournament, you know, playing the actual event under pressure. You know, because you can look fantastic when you're hitting tennis balls, but when you actually put in a pressure situation, it's completely different. So that's why you know, the training is important, the way you prepare, and everything else will fall into place.
Good stuff. Fascinating. That's just about half time of the show. After the break, we'll discuss the future of tennis here on the Rock, whether it's heading in the right direction, expectations at the games, and one question only on its way to. Don't go away.
At Gibraltar International Bank, we use our expertise to help you manage your money. We provide a range of accounts to suit your personal or business requirements, as well as loans and mortgages, while making life easy with our digital banking. A bank where decisions are taken locally by an experienced team of professionals committed to building relationships with customers. Gibraltar International Bank. Traditional banking with a modern feel. Licensed by the Financial Services Commission.
Be sure to join us on Sports Report every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Welcome back into the Sports Locker. We're talking tennis with a keen eye on the Island Games, which of course is just a few weeks away now. During the break, we spoke about pressure. And Michael, particularly in individual sports, how much of a factor is pressure, and how much of the game as well, you've played it professionally, how much of it is played between the years? Oh,
I mean, that's what separates a player that's ranked 400 or 500 to the player that's in the top 10. I mean, you have... Really? Yeah, if you look at players competing or playing with each other, you wouldn't tell the difference in level, but it's all mental. It's that one point that makes the difference. And, you know, like I was saying earlier, any sort of deficiency you have in your game is magnified in those pressure situations. And so the way you're able to control your emotions, the way you're able to block out any sort of distractions makes the difference in winning those tight matches. And if you look at most of the results in pro tennis, most of the results are 7-6, 7-5, 6-4. They're all close matches. But the players that keep winning are the ones that can kind of make that little switch and
handle the pressure better.
And handle the pressure a little bit better.
Also,
correct.
Yeah.
So you, when you were at your peak, how far did you go? And was it a question of perhaps not being able to handle the pressure as best as one of your peers that perhaps stopped you from making it from?
Yeah. I mean, for me, just playing on tour for so long was a great experience. I had some good wins. I beat 5 guys in the top 300. I played in the Davis Cup. For me, it was more or less a matter of being able to get out there and play and compete. If you know, you're trying to make a living playing tennis, you have to play at least 30 weeks a year. And so that takes a lot of money. You have to pay your coach, you have to pay travel expenses, your hotel, you have to try to stay in nice places to get into the tournament a week in advance, prepare properly, make a right schedule. And unless you have someone that can kind of help guide you, it's difficult. And so at the very least, with my experience as a player, and my experience traveling with pro players that I've traveled with to the Grand Slams and big events, and my experience now working with the ITF, I'm able to kind of share that information to other players so that way they don't make the same mistakes that I made.
And how do you share that information and that sort of experience? Because some might say you can only learn how to deal with pressure through match practice, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course. At the end of the day, it's like I was saying to you earlier that you know, when you're practicing, you look fantastic, but when you're actually playing points and you know, you're put into a pressure situation, it's how you handle that, you know. And I think the more you practice, the more confident you'll get. You know, you'll have more belief, and that is what you need to. You need to be able to put in the hours in order to be at that standard, and that is what we're trying to focus on and trying to improve, because it's not easy to perform on sort of the big stage, you know, which is the Island Games for us. You know, we need to make sure that we deal with that as best as we can.
Yep.
Dustin, sorry, Michael, would you guys agree with the sentiment?
Yes, completely. I mean, the sooner that we can get these players into those pressure situations, the sooner they'll get comfortable playing within those situations, and therefore be more prepared for these high-end, these high-intensity games that you know, that take a lot of mind strength to get through. You know, your first few tournaments. I have a few kids that have done their first tournament a couple of months ago with the straight games, and they had so much pressure on them before their first game. And as soon as they hit their first game, and no matter what the result was, you could tell there was a massive pressure lifted off them. Yeah. And then they started warming up. And I think this, over a long period of time, will make them battle ready for these more important tournaments and the next generation of island gamers. Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything that's been said. And I mean, I think a big misconception some people do have is that if you're a good player, that automatically makes you a good coach, and it doesn't work that way. If you're a good player, you do have that experience, but you also have to have knowledge in order to help guide the players. So if you're a good player and have the experience to be a good coach and mesh the two together, that's the best combination. So I think that's kind of the way that I'm able to try to help pass along the information best to my players.
Why is it that some players don't become good coaches?
Well, I mean, it's just not going out there and playing. You know, some players just somehow figured out a way to play well, but they don't even know why or how they're doing it. And it's tough to transfer that information over to someone you're coaching. And so that's why we have the coach education courses. That's why you got to study sports psychology, biomechanics, planification, strength and conditioning. I mean, that sort of thing has to be learned. And then you have to apply that with the knowledge you have as a player to try to pass that along to the students.
It's a perfect point what Michael said. You know, at the end of the day, you know, we're sort of modernizing the game. You know, the coaches are coming in, and like he's saying, he's trained, or he's delivering courses to young people who are the future. You know, at the end of the day, we're trying for the juniors to develop, and you know, to improve their game, and that's, I think that's the best way. No, Michael, when you say that's probably the yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll get on to the next generation and coaching, and that's where you come into in particular. Yeah. But with one eye on Gotland and how well we did there, and the room for improvement that kind of came from there. What are our expectations, would you say? Do you think we can do, particularly with Amanda even now in the squad, do you think we can do, and also home support, how important will that be?
Firstly, in Gotland it was clay, so we're playing a different surface this time round. But with Amanda on board, obviously, the expectations there is for her to get the 3 goals, you know, for the singles, for the doubles, and for the team.
No pressure, Amanda.
That is, you know, I think that, you know, like I said, the ladies' squad is a strong squad, and we've got Venka, we've got Bianca, who's a very experienced player, as well as Lindsay, and Mel now coming to the picture. So we've got a mixture of experience, you know, of sort of youth and experience. So we should be aiming very high with regards to the ladies' squad.
Yeah. I definitely agree that home court advantage will help us.
Definitely.
We have all our family there to back the guys up. You know, tennis being such an individual sport, the more backing you can have, the more comfortable you'll feel, and hopefully, you know, diffuse those nerves on the day.
And how about the venues that'll be used this summer? Of course, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, sandpits will be used for the later stages of the tournament and the Victoria Stadium.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
but I don't know whether that's subject to change or not. I think it was mentioned that we might be playing at the stadium for the earlier rounds, but I don't know whether that could sort of be a last-minute change and have our games played at sandpits. But irrespective, we're still training at the stadium just to get accustomed to the surface, and you know, we've had obviously some days with Michael over there, so hopefully we should be okay to play on both surfaces.
You mentioned in a recent interview with my colleague Melanie that sandpits has really developed since the last time you were here. Is everything in place, James and Dustin? Is everything in place for a great show and a great spectacle?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the team's always going to try their best, right? And they've definitely upped the intensity of their training in the last months. So we're as prepared as we can be, I guess, for the games.
Michael, we're going to have to wrap up in a few minutes, but how does it change your approach in coaching a player like James, a squad of players, to coaching the coaches?
So the coaches, to me, that's one of the most fundamental aspects of development if you want to develop tennis in any country. So, you know, especially the course we just did was a PTR 10 and under course. We did a UPT course. The 10 and under course is so important because we want the younger generations to start playing tennis. And in order for them to come out and play, we have to create this sort of passion in them for them to want to come out and have this intrinsic sort of desire to play the sport.
And that's easier said than done.
That's easier said than done. So that's why we take this sort of game-based approach where you're coaching through games. Yeah. So they're out there and they're the ones that are doing all the activities and playing tennis, but in their view, they're playing games and they're having fun, which at the end of the day, tennis is a fun sport that you're supposed to enjoy. Yeah, and so for me, if the coaches are able to transpire this sort of energy down to the young kids, we're going to have a lot bigger crop of junior players coming up in the future.
Right, almost time to go. Just about time for one question and one question only.
Hey guys, Stefan here, an avid tennis fan. As you can probably tell, I've just played 5 sets on clay, absolutely covered in red dirt, diving everywhere. Well, what I wanted to know is what shot makes you the most satisfied if you play it to perfection? I mean, a drop shot, a lovely ace serve, a smash, a backhand winner down the line. I mean, which shot satisfies you the most when you play it perfectly?
Play from left to right, James?
Backhand down the line. I've always trusted my backhand stroke. So and it's, you know, I've thoroughly enjoyed hitting that shot, you know, as the years gone by. So yeah, the backhand down the line for me.
I would say on the rare occasion you can go around the net post. That's got to be a satisfying one. So maybe I've been able to do it 4 or 5 times in my life. So whenever you get one of those rare ones, it's enjoyable.
And Dustin?
I would definitely say, yeah, return a serve. Return a serve. If you can get that nice, sweet return in, yeah, there's not much more satisfying than that.
Good stuff, guys. Thanks for your answers and thanks for your time. But that is just about all we've got time for this evening. Like I said, a big thanks to my guests, Dustin, Michael Ray and James. Thank you at home for watching, and we'll see you same time next week on The Sports Locker. Until then, it's good night.